Welcome to Behind the Fence with Blake Thomas. Presented by Vinyl Fence Warehouse, the podcast where we talk to fence contractors about their journey in the fencing industry. So latch the gate and get ready, because we're about to dive deep into the world of fencing.
All right, everybody. Well, welcome to this episode of Behind the Fence with Blake Thomas, your host here. I'm with Briad Fredericksen of Las Vegas Fence out of beautifully hot Las Vegas, Nevada. Brian, how are we doing today, man?
Good. How you doing, man? Thanks for having me on. It's kind of exciting.
We're excellent. It is a Tuesday. We're still, smoking from yesterday's Monday morning fires, but they're mostly out. We're ready to keep on rolling through the week, man. How about you guys?
Yeah. Good. Taco Tuesday, man. We had the office already got a bag of delivery of tacos in, I saw, but they didn't have none for me. So
oh, that's rude.
Yeah, I know. So I just went to Burger King, but get some fiery chicken fries.
Hey man, the BK Lounge is where it's at. You can go there, get your rodeo burger. It's the only place you can get one.
Yeah. So how you been?
Doing good, man. How's things over there at Las Vegas? You getting all geared up for the fence show?
Man, 33 days away at this point, and it's coming fast. It is.
Really,
we used to count months now, then we got into weeks, and now we're down to days. So
dude, it'll be tomorrow before you know it.
I know. We're ready though. I think we're ready. I mean, obviously we're not ready for it to be tomorrow, but I think we're on track. We're on track to have a nice, smooth show. People are going to be pleasantly surprised, like they were last time, to how smooth everything happens, from the registration to getting your passes to moving the exhibitors in and moving them out, and the flow of the events. And I think it'll be a little bit more scheduled with the education and stuff. It's going to be fun. Yeah, it'll be nice.
Man, as far as those things go, things typically just get better each and every time, man. So, I look forward to seeing it. It's going to be a great show. Just from what I saw, just on, from Facebook videos and, posts and pictures. I mean, it looked, absolutely like it needed to be there.
Yeah.
So kudos to you guys for putting on a heck of a show. I know it'll probably be better and better and better every year, man. Just getting more and more traction, and, hats off to you, man.
No, I think it's definitely going to become the world's biggest fence and security expo. That's for sure. There's no doubt.
Well, don't aim for the bottom, man. You got to aim for the top.
Yeah, so we're excited about that. Fence company wise, we're rocking like everybody else. I think you see a little bit of slowdown sometimes in certain areas in the summer, and then certain stuff picks up in the summer as well. So for us, we do a lot of commercial and industrial, so we stay busy all year. But for some reason, the hotter it gets, the more residential calls we get. And we don't do much residential, but I see it. It seems like the hotter it is, the more people want you out in their backyard working. I don't know what it is. We start ramping it up for summer. Every year we're getting ready for it. So even a lot of seasonal stuff around the country too. I would assume it's similar to that. If you're from a place where it snows, you're busier the hotter it gets, and then you're hustling at the end of the year, and then you've got all your jobs backed up for, I don't know when they get back to work, April or February, March, whatever it is. So we definitely feel a summer hustle.
How are you guys doing out in the shop? Are you keeping them cool?
Yeah, luckily we've been doing it a while, so we got fans and swamp coolers, and you got to keep a lot of water on the trucks. And one of the questions, we have our daily checkout sheets for the trucks when they leave, and every truck has to stop, even after they're fully loaded. Every truck has to stop at the gate and do a checklist. And one of the questions on the checklist is, do you have water and lunch?
Yeah,
it's as important sometimes as making sure they got fuel in that generator. So
So every time that your trucks leave the yard, I mean, they are ready to go.
For the most part, we do try to prep it, and I'm different than a lot of people. I mean, some people they're in a battle and a fight to get the crews out in 15 minutes, and they pride themselves on that, and I think that's great. But I would rather them spend 2 hours loading the truck and make sure they got all the fittings and the tools. And I'd rather have two checklists where they have a tool one when they're loading the truck and loading materials, and another one when they're stopping. I would rather slow a truck down and make them take an extra hour getting out of the yard than have them get out there and be missing a 15-cent tension band.
No, absolutely. You don't want those, nickels holding up the dollars. That's for dang sure. And it seems like every time that happens, it's just more and more costly, because everybody's going to sit around if somebody's gone, having to get a part.
Yeah. And you're not there to watch them. So you don't know if they're missing that last tension bar they needed to do that stretch or something. And they don't want to tell you. They don't want to get in trouble. that they forgot it. So if you're not careful, they'll end up making this job take a second day because they like, oh, okay, we're close enough now to where I can just kind of drag it on a little bit today and say we got to come back tomorrow. So if they had all the tools and when they're prepared, they finish the job. So rather than have it go and turn into another half a day job the next day, plus the extra 2 hours they extended it today to cover themselves for, because they're not going to come back early. Because then you're gonna be like, what are you back here early for? They're gonna be, oh, I didn't have enough tension bars, right? Well, why didn't you take it out and then get in trouble? So I think sometimes they'll stretch it out and stuff if you don't give them the right tools and materials and make sure they take them.
Yeah,
they're human. They're only human. I mean, nobody wants to,
Well, is it smart to, keep spares and things like that on the truck of a lot of the most typical things, or?
I think they all got junk buckets, or something up in the front where if you go to any one of these trucks, they're full of the bottom of the buckets are full of anchors and they've got miscellaneous tension bands and track brackets and all that
Screws
stuff.
And nuts and bolts and
yeah, but even that you got to keep under control or they've got all this just junk in these buckets and these bins in the front and you don't know what's in them. So I think it'd be nice. I know you see Sean King has those super fencer things that he builds, right?
Yeah, they're sweet.
Those big massive trucks. That's pretty cool. And I think if I had something like, I drive, we use 350s, 450s and 550s normally, but we don't have those long beds like you see on that one. And I've always envisioned having something like that and then just having like your own little fittings bin, almost like a walkway up in the front where you walk through and you've got the same racks that you built like in your shop, except those are just stocked with all the different size tension bands and everything in that. So I think that would be kind of a cool idea.
Some mobile inventory right there on the truck, huh?
Just like a mobile fitting room.
Us ourselves, we actually got out of the installations and have gotten so deep into the material sales, that we just use, as far as we can get, good trusted contractors, to do our work and persist with the quality, that we demand for, our name and our business and our brand.
Yeah.
So
yeah. You guys have you guys have really picked it up in the last year or so. It's really great to watch.
It's really came along, man. We, started out in the garage of a rent house and have totally grown into a 22,000 square foot facility. We pump jobs out of here on the daily, across the nation. It's something I never thought would happen. I would have never thought that, e-commerce was an avenue that we could use, especially in fencing. But it is, and it's been great. So to kind of move forward, Brian, let's talk about Brian.
He's not
Cowboy
here. Where's that guy? Who invited Brian to the party?
The dang comedian, Brian. Brian, where did the cowboy hat come from, brother? I don't know too many people in Vegas that love cowboy hats like you do.
I think I've always kind of liked them. And then, I can't even remember what Christmas it was. My wife got me back into them. It was like I always had them throughout growing up a little bit, but my wife got me one for Christmas. God, I don't even, man, I'm not going to, feels like a decade or so ago. That I really liked. And maybe it was more of a grown-up one than my old, either the straw ones or, the complete felt ones that were, the $50 hats you get, anywhere you go. And then she got me a really nice one. And I'm like, man, I like this. This is a nice hat. And I think I just got used to wearing it again. And then ever since then, I don't feel right without it.
Well, you definitely become the man in black with the cowboy hat. So congratulations, from just being a fence company to being, being Brian.
Everybody did it. I mean, it was I didn't think it was going to take off as quick as it did. And obviously I think our industry was just ready. Our industry was ready for that feeling of being connected to it again. And I think I didn't really do that much other than just make everybody get involved, I think, and realize that there's a lot of people like us out there that just want to do stuff and want, there's people out there that understand what we're going through on our level as a fence company, our daily struggles that have evolved from one year to the next. And, this year is different even than last year and the year before. So if we're staying in, we're staying in decades ago where we were kind of staying doing the same thing we were doing decades ago, people were going to lose interest, and myself included. So I think I was excited to see how quickly everybody just said, yeah, let's do it. I mean, if I had a crazy idea, it wasn't just my crazy idea, it was everybody's crazy idea now. Everybody got behind it and said, all right, let's try it.
Well, I mean, dude, if you're vocal enough to, share those things and, get people on board and, riding the Brian train, like that takes a lot. Your cowboy hats, they're freaking sweet. You wear a lot of those. I mean, a lot of hats is what I mean. From fence company owner, to the fence show and security expo, Brian, you give us a quick rundown of everything that you are in. So it's a lot.
Gosh, well, I mean, I don't know if you saw, you can kind of see a little mark here. When I first got on the video, I'm trying to wipe my shirt clean. I mean, we just had material sales up front. I was out loading some wire on a truck, on a customer that came in. So it's my daily routine is pretty simple on this, on what I'm involved in. And my first thing is, get up and, like every other fencer, in a panic mode, going, what was I trying to remember to talk to the crews about this morning, or get to the office and try to get there and open the gate up before all the crews get there and things. So I rush to get here and open up the gates, and, hopefully the guy you have in charge open the gates made it before you, but I get there and I start talking to the crews, get the trucks out, and then start looking at maybe a couple phone calls to some customers, let them know they're on the way. If there's any material sales up front, somebody at the counter or something, I'll see if I got help on that. And then I start getting on. We've got lots of stuff going on. We got the Fence University. We've got education and training. We're always trying, we're trying to develop some more marketing classes and stuff. There's some workshops for the fence industry. And I think you'll see some of that stuff in the show here shortly as well, that we're going to be doing at the fence show that'll be going around the country on. And then, so I work on the Fence University. The Fence magazine is always comes out every month. So I start looking at where we're at on that. And that was 60 pages last time. So we're constantly reviewing the Fence magazine. And then it starts working our way into a meeting, probably with Susan and everybody on FWA, Susan, for the membership, and see what new members signed up, whether they were, whether they were just the standard member, whether they're a business member, or whether they were sponsor members, and then have a meeting. Hey, are we keeping up with our obligations of what we said we would do if they, each one they join? So we kind of go through that. Then we do a meeting on the Fence Show and Security Expo, and we see where we're at. That's coming up, and what's the floor plan, how's that been changed, where we at on that, the food and beverage stuff. And then we start looking at the outside demo. We have a meeting probably about the outside demo days, and see where we're at on that. Did we get all the materials set for the education? What are the awards? How are we doing the parties? It just goes on. That's just kind of going through the day. And then I circle back to, after all that, maybe do a fence estimate or something, and then maybe talk to the property at South Point where we're doing the show. And then I circle back to the crews are going to be coming back in. So then we got to look at what they got done, figure out where they're going to go tomorrow, and just start the whole cycle over again.
That's a lot, dude. That is a lot. I have no doubt that is your day from 5:30 to 5:30, man. With as much as you do, what do you do to not do anything? What do you do to let off that steam and finally relax?
Yeah, I'll take off, go down to California, maybe jump in the water, take the boat out or something. But I don't know. I enjoy working though. So it's my time off almost, it feels like. I actually, even on the weekend, I love the weekends because it feels like a day off if I can come in and if you take off my plate of having to deal with all the crews and trucks, doing the rest of that stuff feels like a day off. So it's, so on the weekends, a nice relaxing day is to be able to come in and work on the stuff that I love to work on and interest me with, trying to launch new things and what we can do on resources. So I guess that's kind of feels like that's my time off right now. But or we'll do some family stuff, or maybe go to the mall. I don't know, go to the shopping, get some food. I don't know, whatever else my wife wants to do to make her happy, because if she's happy, I'm happy.
Always. Now, Brian, you said you've been in the industry for how long? When did you actually start putting fence up, at your uncle's company or your dad's? How did that go?
I mean, gosh, it would be 8 to 10. I mean, when I was on my first job sites. So I learned to drive at a Moose Research Center, in the middle of nowhere,
Nice.
driving, the work trucks. So I guess, I don't know if that counts as when you first got in the industry, but it sure feels like it.
Hey,
Yeah, I still remember hurting myself with a pair of fence pliers at 8 or 10. So you remember cutting your hands up and stuff because they were so big and you're trying to grab them and stuff. But I remember how sharp they are, getting them caught in it and stuff. So I guess that's how far I remember going back. But it's been a lot of fun. Every time you try to get out, it's weird, man. This industry, it's once you're in, you're in. There's nothing you can do about it. You can have these dreams and you can say, man, I'm getting out. I'm never getting back in the fence industry again. And you leave, you're going to end up sleeping in the park, showering with the homeless people, and then somehow back in the fence business. And next year, you've got a house and a car and a boat, and you're like, man, I'm never getting out again. Right?
well, what would a good piece of advice that you would give to somebody new to the industry then?
I say, get your accounting done early. Make sure you start tracking, separate the personal and the business stuff. We all make that mistake in the beginning, and it's hard not to, but try to separate that as much as you can. But as soon as you're thinking about doing it, start your marketing. as soon as you're thinking about doing it. Before I'm not saying work illegally without your licensing and stuff, but get the phone to ring. Get your marketing in place, get your social media stuff set up, get your websites down. Get everything, get your phone number, get the marketing, have it start indexing, and get the basic tools. Stock one truck at a time. Get your truck and get it completely stocked. Don't spread your tools too thin amongst 3-4 trucks, because then you're going to get 2 or 3 crews out there working without proper tools. And it's really hard to share certain things, and you're like, oh, well, who's got the welder today? Who's got the jackhammer today? Try to stock your equipment up, properly as you grow, things like that. And then marketing is key, man. It's marketing. Get your sales procedures down to an art. Make sure you don't sell a fence that doesn't have a drawing of the fence on it. Things like that. Anything that's up into interpretation is going to go against you. If you're ever sitting in front of any kind of bureaucracy, any kind of government attorney, anything like that, if there's anything that was vague, it's going to go against you. So get your contracts down pat, get the, your terms and agreements and things like that in place on your contract from the very first project you do.
Now, what would one of the biggest mistakes that you see done by new people to the industry?
No contracts. Big one is or just writing it on a napkin, the price for this, and being too vague. I think the biggest mistake is not drawing the fence out. I think the biggest mistake we make in our industry is quoting. I mean, that's just me personally, though, as a fence company. The biggest mistake people make is by just thinking they can sell a fence in a paragraph. That when, which I find ironic, because we go through all this work of telling people this isn't just a fence as an industry, and we tear everything apart, right? And as soon as somebody posts a picture of a fence and we say that, hey, we're not just, fencing's it's a trade. It's not just something a handyman can do. It's not just, we try to build it up, when we talk to people, and then we'll go out and bid a $30,000 job in a paragraph without doing a drawing, without doing a sketch of the fence. And I'm like, okay, well, I thought this was so difficult that nobody could do it, but yet you can explain everything you're doing in 2 sentences. Doesn't sound too difficult to me, but it is more difficult than that. And they end up making a mistake, and the customer says, I thought I was getting this, and you said, no, I was going to give you this. Okay, well, if you had a drawing and a sketch of the fence, that would alleviate that. You're like, well, not only did I tell you what we were going to do, here's an actual drawing of the style fence. It shows that there's only one top rail. It shows that a tension wire on the bottom. It doesn't show a mid rail. So if a customer comes and says, oh, I thought I was getting a mid rail, well, your contract clearly shows it's got a top rail only, right? So that's the kind of stuff I think that a lot of them make in the beginning, and they don't. And I also think on the leads and stuff, I don't think they run their leads properly. They don't realize that you want to be the first one out there. You want to shake their hands and try to get them a quote quick enough, and forget about sometimes in the beginning when you're trying to build your company up, that you got to go back and type it up and stuff. Try to do a handwritten, ask for the sale while you're there. We stopped doing that, man. The industry's turning into order takers, and we stopped asking for the sale, which is, you wouldn't want to be out there against me. I'll tell you that much, because I'd be asking for the sale, before you got them the quote.
Now, what are some of the things that you use, to try to make that sale before anybody ever even goes out there? Just over the phone. Do you have like a website where people can go and quote from, price list, anything like that?
Yeah, I mean, it really depends on. It's funny. I mean, that's a loaded question, because it depends on how busy we are at the time. If you're looking for work, then there's different instructions to the people answering the phone. If we're looking for work, then we have those appointments set right when you call up. So if you called up and said, hey, I need a quote on a fence, one of the girls is going to be like, hey, how's 11 o'clock today? We'll have somebody out there. How's 1 o'clock? What's good for you? Oh, not good for today. We'll set it up for tomorrow. And we're not even trying to get that much information out of you. We're just trying to get the salesperson in front of you so they can shake your hand, look in the eye, get that chemical reaction, that happens when you meet somebody, and try to ask for the sale. If we're really busy, then we'll start asking questions. We're going to be pre-qualifying you, right? And saying, hey, Blake, what are you looking for? Do you know approximately we're going to ask you a bunch of questions you may or may not know, right? And when you start asking somebody questions that they don't know, every time you ask a customer a question they don't know, I believe that lowers your connection with that customer. And so instead of asking the questions that make them say yes, 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 you're looking for everything you can get out of them, and you might turn off a customer or two, or you may not even get the call after that, and then you may give them a price, and you may not even get a chance to go out there. When in fact, if you went out there, they might go with you. So I guess that would be the things we do differently, to try to pre-sell the job, depending on whether we're busy or not, if that helps. You know?
Yeah, I think it really does. I mean, the further that you get, stacked out in work, I mean, that's money that is coming in. Obviously you
Yep.
don't want to stay stacked out too long, but you can only go so far with the crews and the, materials that you have on hand and things like that without, extending yourself too far. So, I mean, at some point, you do kind of have enough. And so,
Yep.
yes, like we were talking about earlier, going into the winter, it is nice to have that chunk of work stacked up because it is going
Yep.
to come in a little slower over those
Yep.
months. So yeah, I mean, being able to get out there fast and be the first one is always nice. But if you have all that work stacked up, sometimes it's hard to get away from all that work just to go do it.
Yeah.
So I totally understand that both ways.
Yeah. Yeah. So the sales is one of my funnest departments. I'm like, even 30 some years, 40 years later, whatever it is, I still get a boost every time you sell a job. I know you do. We just do, right?
Oh
It's
yeah,
not even about the money. It's a rush you get selling a job. It's
it's
like
such a hit of dopamine. I mean, it really is.
I don't know what it is. So, but I do think that it also depends on the size of your company, not just how busy you are. So, and the area you're at. I mean, some areas they are just swamped with phone calls, right? And you don't even have to do much. And if you're doing that, then why not have software or something just kind of pre-qualify all your stuff for you and eliminate the phone calls and things like that too. So I think there's needs for things like that come into play depending on where you're at and what kind of vertical you're in. So definitely, I think you almost have to analyze the company and say what's best for you. Maybe it's not even taking the phone call at all. Maybe it's pre-qualifying it through some software or something that like My Salesman or something that does a great job at getting rid of the tire kickers in an area where they're just saturated with people with calls.
Well, Brian, back to some advice here. With the Fence Show coming up, what would be one of the better educational seminars that you have for somebody new that would be attending?
Yep, there's going to be I don't know if it's been added on there. It's going to be a nice fence marketing one, kind of ironically that we're talking about today, but it's going to be a fence marketing one that it'll be a fence marketing workshop. So keep an eye out for that. Susan's been handling almost all the education stuff, so I know it's hard for me to pick one. I don't know. This year there's over 70.
Wow.
Over 70 last time I counted individual, like 40. It's an hour-long session, so it'll be about a good 45-minute class. I mean, unless I added it up wrong, it's about 70 so far. And so you're going to be able to pick and choose and whether you're going to be actually, some of them's about vinyl, some's about crash rated, depends on where you want your company to go. And some people are coming because they want to learn about crash rated devices, whether it be posts or bollards and things like that. So and maybe you're coming to learn about vinyl, and we've got a lot of vinyl manufacturers there that a bunch of them that weren't there last year. So there's definitely going to be new stuff to see with that, and they're all getting some time in some of them slots too. So I think Sam Natello, I think, is going to be over there as well. He'll be doing Shane Catton. They've got some great stuff when it comes to SEO and your websites and social media. So I guess it depends on what you're looking to do. The Overdrive thing, I don't know if you saw the stuff that is going to be going on Monday, Tuesday, the Overdrive, which is, Sean King stuff for the Fence Academy. That's a pretty cool one. If you're a new company trying to get in, or an old one, it'll be kind of, analyzing your business. So it goes on and on, man, but 70 individual things. So, and you can pop in and out. We've designed it so that you can pop in and out. So you're not necessarily losing all your time on the floor, walking around the expo, because there's also 170, I think there's gonna be 175 exhibitors, which is probably 40-50% more exhibitors than we had last year. So
that's a sizable show.
Yeah, that's a good size show for sure. 175 that you're gonna be hopefully walking around and talking to as well. So if you want to just pop in for some of these sessions, it's right across the hallway. You're not like going, man, I totally missed out on the show because I spent the whole time in the education or something either. But at the same time, you don't have to spend, extra days and stuff. You can kind of get the best of both. And then most of these things we're going to hopefully continue on in some stuff throughout the year.
Well, it is a little bit blurry on the sign behind you, so why don't you go ahead and tell us when the Fence Show and Security Expo is this year?
September 10th is the demo days outside, and that's when we'll have some of the competitions. And last time I checked, US Hammer's donating a pretty good sized package to that for the aluminum fence competition. I know that'll be on the 10th outside, and then also NW Quick Pull is going to be giving away one of theirs for one of the competitions. I think there's like $10,000 worth of cash prizes for those as well. So that's going on outside, and there'll be a ceremony, I think, at the end of the day that we'll be giving some awards away. And that's day one outside. And then September 11th is when the expo hall opens up, and that opens up at noon, and then that runs all the way until September 13th. Yeah.
Well, heck yeah. Well, Brian, we're going to close this out, man. You're everywhere. Everybody knows Brian, but what's the best way to get a hold of you, man? How can we find you to become part of the FWA, to sign up for the show? Where can we find you at?
Yep. Just two domains you got to know. Either go to joinfwa.com, and pretty much that's the link to the world right there. So joinfwa.com, sign up for either a free membership or get one of the business or sponsorship ones. We'd appreciate that. Or go to fenceshow.com and you can register for your hotel. Depending on when you're watching this, if the hotel room block's still open, but register for your hotel, get your passes, everything, all the information's on there to see who's exhibiting. Reach out to support@fenceshow.com if you're looking for any specific information. We're pretty easy to get a hold of. But other than joinfwa.com or fenceshow.com, and then we'll help you out with whatever you need.
Great. Sounds good. We'll see you in Vegas then, Brian. Everybody, thanks for watching this episode of Behind the Fence. Had Brian Fredericksen with us here from Las Vegas Fence. And keep on fencing, guys. We'll see you later.
All right. We'll see everybody later.
See you, Brian.